Or as long as they announce that it's not.
Regular meeting of the town council to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roxanne, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Dombrowski,
Here.
Mrs. Ingles here, Mr. Irwin,
Here.
Mr. Marshall,
Here.
Mrs. McGrattan here, Mr. Paul,
Here.
Mrs. Rodriguez here, Mr. Ryan,
Here.
Mr. Soms.
Here.
9 here, 0 absent.
Thank you. We do have a presentation tonight. At this point, I would ask Mr. Steve Juskiewicz to please come forward. No, right at the beginning. That way you can leave.
Thank
you.
So I'd like to read a proclamation from the Ledger Town Council. Ledger Town Council honors Stephen Juskiewicz for his more than 14 years of dedication to the town of Ledger, serving as a volunteer on the permanent municipal building committee from the inception of the committee in 2008 to the present, and is serving as its chairman from 2015 to 2022. During his tenure, Mr. Juskiewicz was instrumental in overseeing and managing the completion of over 16 major construction, infrastructure, and maintenance projects totaling over $83,615,000. Projects included both school and town facility roof replacement, school asbestos replacement, extending the water main to Elgin Heights Phase 1 and 2, wastewater facility upgrade, new police headquarters, and town hall complex improvements, including the reconfiguration of town hall and annex building space needs. High school bleacher replacement, schools, heating system conversion from oil to natural gas at Juliet W. Long School, Gales Ferry School, and the middle school. High school track replacement and multi-use field artificial turf construction, and schools improvement for consolidation, renovators, new projects for the Ledger Middle School and Gallup Hill School. Stephen Juskiewicz is therefore recognized as an outstanding citizen and neighbor for his professionalism, guidance, ability to take on any challenge, and most of all, his accomplishments and lasting contributions. The townspeople of his community will remain extremely grateful for his years of service, commitment, integrity, and perseverance during a period of growth and change for Ledger. Given this 22nd day of June, 2022, at Ledger, Connecticut, signed, Kevin J. Dombrowski, Chair.
I just want to say thanks for this. And of course, the committee is not just, me, the committee's made up of anywhere between 5 and 9, depending on how we went. But I just want to point out something that I believe I have this right. And if I missed anyone, let me know that, Mary McGrattan, Bill Soms, and you, Kevin, were all on the committee when we formed the PMBC. John, I'm not sure if you were on the council yet. All on the council. So you've been serving through this whole thing as well. And thank you for all that you do. And it's been a pleasure. I'm relocating out of state to get closer to my daughter. It'll miss my time in Ledyard. I've never lived anywhere else longer in my life than 25 years here. So my wife and I look forward to the next chapter in our lives. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I'm moving to Delaware. My daughter lives in Maryland, but the taxes are too high in Maryland. So we'll live across the border. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks again.
Good luck, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it, sir. Cindy, thank you for sharing with us.
Glad to get out of the house.
I didn't say that.
Don't you have a meeting to go to?
Yeah, she's the one that signed them up.
She's already trying to find out what communities to sign up for in Delaware. All right.
Guy's good, let me tell you.
All right, at this point, resident property owners who would like to address the council, it is your moment. I do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Sure. My name is Jennifer Day. I live at 572 Lantern Hill Road. I also work there, work from home for 3 years. My husband Kieran, our neighbor Kirk Bryson at 5 Long Pond Road South. I sent an email yesterday morning. It did bounce back from a few of you. I have now learned that I should have just sent it differently. I just wanted to put a face to the name. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know. We live on Lantern Hill Road next to a 1.8 acre plot that was purchased in 2013 by a landscaper. The town has been very, very supportive. The mayor has been great help. Mr. Soms, you've been great help. Ms. Rodriguez, you've been great help. And the town has taken this gentleman to court on 5 separate occasions. You have one on 5 separate occasions, but we are coming up on 9 years now. And it hasn't stopped. There is a court stipulation. It was included in the email that I sent. Have a hard copy if anybody wants it. It is a voluntary agreement between the town of Ledyard and with Mr. Perkins that he signed back in 2016. He's looking to change it. And while the mayor has been gracious and said that he would have to do that in the courts, our question, Mr. Dombrowski, you did respond and I appreciate it so much. Is it with the town of Ledyard? Because that's who the agreement is with, or is it with the zoning department? Because this stipulation has been in effect and is with the town, it's our opinion that it's with the town and it isn't something that happens just in the zoning office or the town planner. So we're hoping that the town would be able to kind of figure that out and let us know. The reason being is we're on our 4th CEO, we're on our 3rd town planner. It's really hard to get people interested in what people do describe as a neighbor dispute. In terms of the name to face, I also wanted to clarify that this isn't a neighbor dispute. I'm not sure Mr. Perkins even lives in Ledyard. There is no house on this property, so this isn't a homegrown business like a Sprigs and Twigs where he came in and was super successful. It started as a landscaping business with 30 landscapers and it continues as such. They're there every day. I get the joys of walking out there in great terror and getting screamed at and taking pictures of them every day because the town has asked us to document it. So we're hoping for some sort of answers. Is this with the town? Can it continue to be enforced, or is this just going to drag on until the entire time that we live in Ledyard? So we just wanted to share our plight, as it were, name to face, make it a little bit more human, not just a very long-winded email.
I don't think I got your email. Yeah, I didn't get it.
It bounced back, hence my,
I did receive it, yes.
I unfortunately grabbed the email addresses from the town listing as opposed to Roxanne clarified what I should have done. So yeah, it bounced back from 4 people, including Mr. Paul. Sorry about that. I have a hard copy if you'd like.
Please.
Sure.
What is on the property if it's empty, if there's no house?
When it was a milking parlor, so there is a barn that used to hold 30 head of cows and it had a silo, but the silo's been sold off. So it is just a barn.
This was a weird piece of property that a number of years ago was subdivided, where the residents, the farm itself, the farmhouse, part of the parcel actually is in North Stonington. But the part that's in Ledyard, the only part that's left on it is the barn. The principal structure on the property in Ledyard is a barn.
And the old farmhouse to that point is where Mr. Bryson lives now. So he has a bird's eye view to the ongoings.
So they're living in the barn?
No, they're running a
No,
business.
they're running a business. It's a landscaping and snowplow business. So
But
it's,
the issue is the zoning issue, is that correct? It's
Well,
not zoned for that,
it's not.
or permanent, or has.
Nope.
yeah.
And the town, Carl Landolino created a very clear stipulation, it's 2 pages that says what can and cannot be done there. No commercial activity. Mr. Perkins signed it. He then hand wrote a version of it for North Stonington to go through the same process with them. And the town has taken him to court for contempt on 3 separate occasions and won all 3. So it's just never ending.
So the reality is, I'm gonna ask land use to take a look at this to see if it is still a zoning issue or if this should be a legal issue. And I'm Mayor, I want to sit down and talk to you separately.
I do have the email.
Yeah.
Yeah, I finally figured it out. Sorry. And just the point of it is, the reason we spoke to you today is because there was a negotiation that was underway to change the stipulation so that he would be in compliance, which basically was saying, oh, we'll make it permittable so we can stop dealing with you. I'm like, that's the whole point of the stipulation, was not make that permittable. So it made me very nervous to have it solely in zoning's hands. We wanted to make sure everyone was aware of it. I mean, the town spent so much time, I'd say money, but he was forced to pay back all of the attorney fees, so not so much money. But it's been an endeavor and I wouldn't want to see it go to waste. Any other questions? Happy, I know them all by heart. I've been at this for a while.
You mentioned in the email that they're also storing chemicals in barrels on site.
Correct. He actually confirmed in court when the town was taking him to court that they're filled with oil. And he uses them for a used oil burning stove, and he gets them from changing all of the oil on his trucks. And they're just right there by the wetlands. Betsy Graham is up in arms about it, nor do I blame her. We've just made so much progress with Woodford Brook, and that is the abutting waterway right there. When oil spill and all of the red herring are done.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Any other comments properly with regard to council, sir?
So I'm Kirk Bryson, and I live in the house across the street. And I think I've been there about 6 years now. I guess my point is this has been going on a long time, and it seems to get better. And then as things quiet, so when Mr. Perkins gets challenged, then everything quiets down. Unless it rains or snows or something, and then they're back in there. And then if nothing's said, then it all starts up again until somebody makes the comment back into the town. And then that gets back to Mr. Perkins and he quiets it down again. So we don't have a lot of faith in what his words are. My last conversation with him was he called me up on the phone, having seen me talk to the Days in their front yard. And he threatened to sue me if I got involved with any action that would hurt his using the property. So that upset me, is that he's the one that's breaking the rules, and then he's going to bring me into court and all of us into court. So I don't have any trust, and I'm hoping that y'all see that his word is, in our opinion, is no good. So, and then it isn't just the Days and myself. I think, did you mention Betsy?
I
Yeah.
do.
So Betsy Graham with the Pond Group, and then also David Keenan with the Keenan Land Trust. So we're all watching this and hoping that the town will kind of put an end to this so we can get settled in and not have to deal with this. So I'm sorry.
Excuse me, so it's just for my own information, so is this you don't like the business being there, or is he just doing unsavory things like storing oil in drums, making noise at night, things like that?
Well, I think it's to the point now, because we don't trust him. I mean, he's trying to rework the stipulation that he agreed to. So
Well, let me rephrase my question. Is
Add
it,
to that, I'm sorry to butt in, but to give some context, I've been threatened by the landscapers. I've been chased on foot and car. One of the town councilors has been threatened. The mayor's assistants have been threatened. The police have been called. There have been arrests. The police noticed a fire, called the fire department. The fire department had to call the police because they were so belligerent and wouldn't let them put it out. So aside from the business, which isn't allowed to be there, it's not zoned for that in any way. It's terrifying. It's every day. It's
well,
terrifying.
that paints a better picture for me, thank you.
Sorry.
Because
If I may, this is somebody who acquired the property in 2013, signed stipulation that it was going to be for farming use only, wasn't going to be operating business there, it's operated business there since day one.
Correct.
And I presume it's gotten progressively louder and worse and more belligerent from that person's end, the longer that you've fought him and said, you're not supposed to be doing this. And it seems like the town has fought it and won a number of times, and it still persists in operating this business.
Every day I gotta check the driveway for glass. Every day.
That seems utterly ridiculous that it's gone on this long.
Yes, it briefly does. It's-
Thank you.
Sure.
yeah, I guess that's what so, yeah, we need some help. Thank you.
I understand. Thank you.
So Kevin, what, other than, and you stated that you're dropping the venues, right? What other recourse do we have?
I don't know, the fact that I want to sit down and talk to the mayor, because I'm not sure what recourse, because the initial issues were land use zoning issues, right, which the town council has by state statute zero authority, and can impart no influence whatsoever. So that's my concern from the council standpoint. I don't know if we have standing to be able to do anything.
I didn't mean necessarily us, town council, I meant the town.
Right, and that's why I want to have a discussion with the mayor, because it's really, that part of it would have to go through staff.
Yeah, it probably just involves a legal process yet again.
Say that, yeah, again, this is before I'm actually looking at the GIS data on this. I mean, it's been going back, bought the house, bought the place in 2013. So it's been going on that long. And 5 times in court, which hasn't done anything, so
It's paid a lot of money.
If I may, I mean, he's paid, we'll say $20,000, which over the course of 9 years means if I'm in an industrial lot, that's $200 a month in rent. It's a pretty great way to do it. We have our own small business. We pay our industrial lot rent. $200 a month, I'd be willing to do it all day. It's clever.
It certainly seems like gaming the system.
I took pictures during a period where our zoning officer was ignoring the situation. I took a lot of pictures and I appeared in court with the pictures. Judge threw the pictures out as hearsay. In the process of taking pictures, I'm the counselor who was threatened. Mr. Perkins walked up. He was having another party, which they do on Sundays and maybe other times. He was having a party with his guys. Saw me taking pictures because I did it blatantly. And said, "Oh, Mr. Songs," and came up and started asking me, "How about if I come over to your house and take pictures of your family?" I said, "Go ahead." But I felt threatened, and that was intimidation. And I have seen him in action in a separate situation, and he does intimidate people. He's an angry man, and he's not a good neighbor. And it all started because he was running a business listed in the yellow pages at that address in a residential zone. That simple. He's a bully.
Does the zoning commission have an ability to eject somebody after 9 years of flagrantly violating zoning regulations? Is that a step too far?
I think, no, I think this is, as the chair says, he's going to talk to the mayor, and I think we should look at our options as a town, but not as a council.
I hope we reach for the big stick.
We've been trying to reach for the big stick with this, because the council sounds, I've been involved in this since it was first brought to me originally a number of years ago when I was chair of land use. So, and working with planning and zoning when it was still independent, actually. Yeah. For zoning enforcement officers, bunch of legal litigation that we've gone through with the town. So when I got the email, I was not surprised, let me put it that way, that it continued again. This is the history that we've seen for the last 10 years on this project.
Can I add something on that?
Sure.
I think the other thing that's really frustrating is that it's gone through court and there's no follow-up. If this were to go back to the judge and he sees that he's just doing the same thing over and over and over again, then I would think there would be some recourse that way. But by not taking it back to the judge, then just keep going.
To the comment that was made earlier, unless you challenge him, he's going to keep doing it, pushing it.
Well, I think the mechanism in place to enforce this is the fine, daily fine, that is in the stipulated agreement, $250 a day. And money does make an impact on most people.
We just need to have the.
wait, is that being enforced? It's not being enforced. Then
Well, it's unfortunate. We're very rural. So you get to depend on me, work from home, walking out, taking pictures, and that's the evidence.
Well, but that's why we have a zoning enforcement officer.
Right, but they can't drop what they're doing every time, and that's been a challenge too, and I appreciate what the days do. And at the same time, you know, when a call comes in and they say, this trailer is going into the property or whatever, we can't go racing out there, and even if we raced out there, it's probably a legitimate 15-minute drive out there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is not the most accessible location in town. So it does take time, and the last time we went through the legal process, there were a number of I think it was actually pictures that basically the judge was saying, well, is it going on at this point? And he was throwing pictures out saying, well, I can't count this one as being, you know, out of bounds, and he just kept going. It's a legal struggle every single time. We'll have to just spend more money with the attorney and do it again.
The nice part is where the town saw great success is when we went back to the same judge, when we waited it through to go back to the same judge, and she was outraged that it was still happening. And to your point about spending more money with the lawyer, it is part of it that he has to pay attorney's fees each time, so the town doesn't keep annihilating their budget for the attorney through doing this. You do keep getting it back. It's just exhausting.
Yeah, and it's over time. So obviously we'll spend it in 1 year, we'll get it back the next fiscal year, maybe the one after that, but whatever.
For ease of enforcement, it seems like you guys have a pretty good view of the property. Is it possible the town could put a camera with the homeowner's permission to be able to collect live action evidence?
He planted trees. We had a camera up and he planted trees.
And I'm not sure where we stand in the legal aspect of the town of a camera on private property, observing another private property.
One judge considered it hearsay. I was astounded. I had times, dates, everything. And he said, no, didn't consider it.
I would wonder that if we'd gone through, I don't know if you just did that on your own or there was
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So private citizen Psalms taking care of that, but if the zoning enforcement officer says we need to keep an eye on this person and place a camera or something, someplace, maybe on public lands, to be able to watch a driveway or something like that, see the traffic going in and out, that's obvious signs of a business.
Right. Yeah,
I don't know, just some
I don't know
thoughts.
I don't know the legalities of placing cameras to take pictures of other people, because you won't be taking pictures just of some people, but I don't want to get into pending legal matters discussions. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, because everybody in this room will end up in that courtroom.
Correct.
I just.
That's why I just wanted to, so reality is I'm gonna refer it to land use to make the determination whether the legal matter that the town should be looking into, or if it's still considered to be a land use issue that needs to be handled through the building office. Subsequent to that, I will also be talking with the mayor to figure out what our options are.
Thanks. I once again will just say that it angers me that there's somebody there when people do these things in bad faith.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just one more thing. I appreciate you coming and giving us the personal background and narrative that goes along with your email. I will reiterate, I know you've done this already, but if the threatening behavior continues to happen, please call the Ledyard Police Department. They're very responsive.
We're great friends with them.
I know.
And Chief Rich is listening right now.
Oh, yeah, that's good. All right.
We brought them
The-
wreaths for the holidays.
That's what they're there for, and don't engage, just call the police. If he's threatening you, make sure they get involved. That's going to make a bigger impact than engaging, so.
And thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to address the council? Seeing none, moving forward, committee, commission, board reports, I see none. Comments of town councilors on my left. On my right. Council Paul.
I just want to give a shout out to the Regatta Day Festival. That was awesome. Just want to thank the Lions and the EDC. Everybody involved in that. And Jessica, Jessica Buell, I want to give her a shout out. She really did a great job organizing all that. So Ledyard Police Department, everybody that made that happen. That was an awesome event. So thank you.
Yeah, I also enjoyed the Regatta Festival, even though I didn't win the 50-50 raffle that Jamie hit me up for as I walked in. I said, I'm a little bit of an easy target, don't I? And but it was a great festival tonight. We had another farmer's market that was well attended. A lot of food trucks that were successfully there and did not sell out, as I was stating before, so that was good. At least they didn't sell out while I was there, so that's the important thing. Hopefully they sold out after I left. But there was a lot of kids there tonight, which was very nice to see. And they were all having a great time dancing, doing activities. It continues to be a nice weekly event for families, and the weather gave us a break for it, so it was great.
I also want to give a shout out to the Yale Harvard Regatta.
Yes.
Yale won all 3 matches. And thank you for a job well done to the Gales Ferry District Economic Development Commission, especially to Jessica Buell, Ledyard Rotary, Ledyard Lions, Ledyard Police Department, and Parks and Rec Director Scott Johnson. They all did a tremendous job, and I saw them all working. And kudos to the Ledyard High School seniors for graduation. It was wonderful. And thank you. There was a lot of town councilors who went out, and the mayor for the graduation.
Review, what's that?
Sorry, Chairman, would you like to let these lovely people?
Oh,
know
you,
that they
you don't have to stay here.
I just wanted to say thank you, but didn't want to interrupt the
Nope,
shout out.
okay.
We really appreciate
You're more than welcome to
it.
stay, but you don't have to.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kurt, take care.
The review and approval of minutes.
So move.
Second,
Discussion. Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
yes.
Mr. Soms.
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes,
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Irwin.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
motion carries. I have no communication. What communications are on the portal? I have no referrals on the one we just did. Council committee liaison reports. So I'll start with admin.
Admin has not met since our last meeting. There are 2 items on the agenda tonight.
Question for admin. Community relations.
Community relations, we met last Wednesday, June 15th, 6:30. Couple things. This coming Wednesday, the 29th, we have a table or booth going on at the farmer's market. Hoping for some good weather and lots of kids and everything for that one. This is, you kind of seen the little flyers there. The idea behind this is kind of like the meet and greet that we had at the Nathan Lester House, but it wasn't well attended. So when we met, Councilor Soms had kind of said, we should be using like the farmer's market, because they're already there. This will give us a chance to kind of be exposed to a larger audience. And
Captive.
so captive audience, yes. And so we get them. So the idea is just to kind of hang out. It seems like, it's a great place to hang out, right? So, and just engage people and kind of find out what we can do, in our role, and what's on their minds. And the Ledyard Police Department in Chief Ridge is going to be joining, by bringing a car down. And they're going to be displaying their body cameras and giving a presentation around 6 o'clock to kind of show how those work and be around to kind of engage in the community too. So it's a great way to kind of bring unity in a already great spot with the farmers market. To that point, another thing with that, just we did talk about doing this again also towards the end of summer. Probably, I think we discussed the end of August. And this one wouldn't be like a meet and greet, but this one would focus more on preparing for winter and going into the mental health for October. So we were talking about getting information, making it more of an informational booth. We're working on this and still in discussion. And some of the ideas was getting people aware about, and information about like TBCCA so they can get the utility help for the coming winter. Letting people know there's the homeowners assistance program through the town if they need to take advantage of that. Home meal delivery, letting people, obviously it's right there, but promoting the Linda Davis Food Pantry, and just things like that. We want to make it very informative. So we're trying to put that together. And then the last thing I just wanted to bring up was we are canceling our regular meeting for next month for the Community Relations Committee, and we're having an informal get together at the park on East Drive over in Gales Ferry. There's been some issues going on there. And, you know, we have talked about that. We've talked to the Chief Rich about things that have been going on there. We've just felt it'd be a great idea to kind of just go in there and have an informal meeting about parks in general and get some information on what's going on. And maybe we can bring something back that we can recommend, or maybe something's lost in communication that maybe we can just kind of find a way out of and see what's going on. So just to make ourselves available and have a nice, you know, chat out there at the park. So that's what we're gonna do for our July meeting. And other than that, that is it.
Any questions for community relations? Non-finance.
Finance met, but everything's on the agenda, so we have no report.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for finance? Land use.
Land use has not met since last time, so I don't have any report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for land use? Liaison reports. On my right, left. Councilor Marshall.
As we all heard earlier, Steve Juskiewicz has resigned, and he made a motion to appoint Gary Snyder as the new chair. Gary's gonna do wonderful. He's been with him for a while. He's gonna be just fine. We have a new member named Joe Gush. I hope I pronounced his name right. Collier is getting everything together paperwork wise to close out the school projects. They won the bids quite some time ago. And he did everything he can to get the maximum back from the state that we can get. Motion was made to reimburse the Board of Ed for $6,500 and change for work and repairs that ONG didn't complete. There are problems with the projectors and other AV issues. Some members felt this was maintenance at this point because substantial completion has been signed off already. So the board agreed to take care of it. Not to wait for us to pursue it. AI Flooring won the bid to do flooring work at the Gales Ferry School. We worked them before. They're a great company. Ronco will be doing the work at the metal shop on the metal shop hoods. DC Metal did that bid to the specs, so we'll see do their bid in the trash. The wastewater feed pump project is moving right along. No problems there. The school roof project. The numbers were old, so we have to go back out to bid. They were too far apart to even be realistic. Everything is well and fine at the Gales Ferry Firehouse. And I am also the newly self-appointed liaison to Ledger's Procrastination Committee. We haven't met yet, so it's not report.
John, how long were you saving that? That was just awful.
So to delay pointing yourself.
Took some time.
You owe each of us 15 seconds.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Councilman Marshall?
Yeah, John, you mentioned the school bids were too old. What was that for? The auditorium project?
The roofs.
Oh, the roofs, okay.
Yeah, the school and the
Yeah.
central office.
Yeah.
The prices went up so quickly.
I know.
Right. At that time, it's just too far apart.
Okay.
The Ledyard Beautification Committee's photo contest is in gear again. They're redoing the banners through town. Last time they did this, the categories were market, parks, farms, jackets, culture, and lake. Was that the winners? So anyway, so if you want to submit photos, you can either submit them on the Ledyard Beautification Committee page or the Ledyard Community Photos page and indicate that they are for the banner photo contest. Submit photos by July 6th.
What do they mean by jackets?
I'm wondering if these are just samples because that is.
Coats.
Yeah. Let me check.
I'll ask.
Yeah, it's, you know what, I'm reading the categories that are here on the samples, and that can't be right. So it does say that we won't necessarily have the same themes for the new set of banners, but this should give you a starting point. And people are submitting, and some of them are really stunning. And the details, you know, the fine print for the details, the size of the final photo, the quality of the photo, the pixelation of the photo is all on the Ledyard Beautification Committee Facebook page.
Any other liaison reports on my left, on my right? None?
Just senior center, they met today. They have 2 van drivers now. And they hired an administrative assistant and that person started June 8th.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilor Reed? Any other liaison reports, knowing ones, report of the mayor?
All right, so following up on our last meeting and our discussion, we have now had a staff meeting where we assigned every ARPA project that was approved. We have now assigned staff to manage and oversee each of those projects. Couple of things that we are starting to run into already because of our inflationary world right now is prices that are just far past where we were when we started the process, maybe in October, November. So we're going to have to keep monitoring that, seeing whether some things we do proceed with, whether we hold on others, but time will tell. So that's moving along. I had a meeting with Senator Austin and the Lantern Hill Valley Association regarding the Long Pond dams. As you know, there was $3 million that was appropriated through the bonding commission. The state's selling general obligation bonds, and they're going to be providing funding for us. It's coming to Ledyard, so it's kind of an odd situation because the funding is going to Ledyard. The dams actually reside in North Stonington. Further complicating that, they reside on private property in North Stonington. And then we have 2 different bridges to do. So we have the Whitford Brook Bridge, which is a bridge that you all recall we contemplated doing with Stonington years ago. And then Stonington pulled the plug on funding. So that funding is there. The second bridge on that isn't really a bridge. It's just kind of like a box culvert. But it needs to be replaced because the guardrail company drove one of those galvanized steel I-beams right down so far under the ground, it went right into the culvert and just shattered the concrete box culvert. So the funding is there, but I'm going to need memorandums of agreement with Stonington for the bridge, North Stonington for the dams, and probably something with the private landowner, some sort of hold harmless agreement, you know, whatever needs to be done there. The other dam there, which is the earthen dam, and that's where the fishway is going to be going, is not part of this project. Save the Sound has funding and is working on additional funding to do that. So they're going to do the earthen dam, which does actually reside in Ledyard. But the really great news was the aloe fish, which is something that they've, when the Whitford Pond Dam blew out in April of 2010, and then they finished demolishing it, the alowives have now come all the way up to Mystic River, and they trapped 34 of them, I think a half a mile from this location. So they're obviously already migrating up, looking to get to that pond. So we think that when we put all this together and Save the Sound does the fishway, it'll all happen. The Dow Chemical public information session was canceled on June 15th. There were just too many people there. I suggested to the fire marshal when he went in there to let them know that they couldn't have it because the capacity for that room was 55 and they were about double that. But I suggested that it's not even an applicant because it's not even a town application at this point. But I suggested that they communicate with Ledyard Public Schools and get a school auditorium, whether it's the high school or the middle school, but get something more substantial. Because I think this is the second or third time that they've canceled.
This was the second time.
Second time now. So I'm hoping that they will do that when they actually do reschedule that public information session. I'm going to post something. I know, Mary, you had indicated that we should put something out there. So I'm going to post something too. It says, this is not a pending zoning application. It's not a pending land use application right now. So it's because there's a certain demographic that fit in the scope of the project, they were required to do an environmental justice hearing. And that's what this is. And pending that outcome, then they may be coming to us. So, but I'll keep everybody up to date on that so that if that's going to happen again, and it will be rescheduled. As Councilor Rodriguez said, high school graduation, the thunderstorms cleared off just in time. Probably gave us not more than an hour before we were all lined up. Nice hot sweltering night, but it was a great night and the kids had a great time. So that was positive. The very next day, I did Eagle Scout to the first female Eagle Scout in Ledyard, which was Caitlin Hughes. Caitlin is the 5th of the Hughes children to get their Eagle Scout award. So she's the only daughter, and there were 4 boys that went through the process before her. And she has now also obtained hers. And a little tidbit about Caitlin, she actually finished high school last September. So she finished essentially a year early. So she finished her 4 years in 3. But the family moved to Virginia. And so they came up to actually walk for graduation, and then the very next day to get her Eagle Scout. So that was a nice 2 days in a row for her. Legistar trainings are going very well. Staff has been participating. Roxanne obviously is spearheading a lot of this with Kristen. I think it's going really well. I think we're going to like this product. There is something further down your agenda about your summer schedule. And that summer schedule would definitely help for the launch on this thing in July 1st to give us. Yeah, they actually were prepping for 6 months of training. We're trying to get it done in 2 months. So they're telling us 6 months to train, and we're saying we're not taking 6 months to train. We're going to train now. And so it's happening quickly, but I think people are definitely taking hold of it, and it's a good system. So, so far, so good. Tri-Town Trail, the phase 2 grant has just arrived, just to refresh you. That was awarded to us on March 3rd, and they just said, don't do anything until you receive the documents. We just received the documents. So we now have to do an RFP process for the design and engineering work for that, but that'll start moving along. We have sub-recipient agreements going out this week to TDCCA, Ledgely Health District, and Homeless Hospitality Center. So that's one of the things in ARPA that they said, you know, you really, if you're going to give money to somebody else that's going to be doing something with it, we need to give them a piece of paper. And so we just kind of brushed that up. But what we ultimately did was we said, if they're not going to use the money as they presented to us that it would be used, or should they not use all of it, they need to immediately return it to the town of Ledyard, so that we have time within that window of time to reappropriate those funds. So those 3 went out this week. I will be coming to you about a potential public hearing. I was speaking with Mary about it earlier. There is a piece of land that Bob and Mary, Betsy Graham have purchased over on Bush Pond, which is parallel to Long Pond, as a philanthropic thing. They wanted to give a piece of it to the town of Ledyard. And it involves probably 550 linear feet of pond frontage on this, so roughly 23-acre pond. It's really nice. And there, if you've been on Lantern Hill Road before heading towards Stonington, there were a bunch of decrepit little cottages that were in various stages of decay and almost looking to the point like they were going to fall into the pond. They have spent the money to have those removed, the site cleaned up. I was preparing to hopefully have them gift this portion of the total parcel, but we can't do that because Ledgely has a requirement that they have to have a reserve area for the remaining cottages on the parcels. So it will be, basically they're looking to give us the middle section on this nice point, and then there'll be a cottage on the south side and I think 3 cottages on the north. And that ultimately ended up being kind of a roadblock to being able to divide the property. So we are looking at doing a 99-year lease for $1, and then it will remain as a park. So obviously when we do something like that, we need public approval. So we'll be coming forward with that, and I will provide you all sketches and everything so you can see what it is. There will be some expense for us. The Grahams have undertaken a lot of the expense so far. But for us, it will be surveying this roughly 3/4 of an acre piece of the total parcel. And then creating a legal description of that so that we can have that attached to the lease, saying this is the bounds of our piece. But I brought Scott Johnson out there, Parks and Recs Director. He's super excited about it because I said, it's likely that this would be under your administrative control. We wouldn't be allowed to build a building there. We could build a gazebo, like for picnicking. And the Grahams would allow us to have a porta potty there seasonally, which is also a good thing. But it would allow for fishing, picnicking, and like canoeing and kayaking. So there's a spot that people could put in there. So I'm pretty excited about it. I hope that everybody will embrace it, because I think it's a nice feature to have, to be able to have a waterfront access point. So, but I'll be coming forward with that probably late July. We received our final FEMA funding today from Tropical Storm Isaias. You probably remember that one. It was a long time ago.
What year was that?
It was August 27th of 2020. And this was a good example of how quickly the federal government moved. So today we received our $5,149. Unbelievable. And then I'll just close with, you recall that Fireside Pizza burned badly. The owners, the Arpin family, were in the process of renovating the old Citizens Bank at the opposite end, which is now the Sunnyside Diner. So they have been able to do a soft opening. They haven't done a grand opening yet, but they have done a soft opening. So far, so good. It's really a family affair, so it's important that, and I've heard good things so far from people that have gone there. So hopefully they will find success there as they did with Fireside, and hopefully they'll be able to reopen Fireside. But it's probably every bit of 8 months out still.
Just noticed they were doing a whole bunch of roof work over there.
Yes. Yeah, that was probably one of the fastest pieces of this whole thing, was that bringing in the engineered trusses, and they had one of those lifts so they could bring everyone up, and as quickly as they were placing them, they were nailing them and nailing them into place. And they sheathed it with plywood probably almost entirely the following day. That was quick. Once they get the roof on it, things will slow down when they start doing the mechanical trades and inspections, and then ultimately the fit out. So it was a pretty catastrophic fire, and that's something that we need to make sure everybody keeps in mind, because down on Chidley Way, it was the exact same reason, which is those zero clearance fireplace pipes. They superheat over time, and after the plywood continues to heat and cool and heat and cool and heat and cool, according to a fire marshal, it essentially turns it into an absolute combustible. So by the time that brick oven fire, the pipe going up had heated, it just caught fire like that. So, and like I said, the Chidley Way fire was the same type of thing. So people need to be careful about that, even though it's a double walled pipe. And even though it's that far up in the ceiling, it's definitely worth looking at. And if people have access to their attics, it's worth getting up there and seeing, because according to Jim, it kind of blackens around there before it takes off. So
I can make one comment. So you mentioned the home on Chimley Way.
Yep.
And Fireside Pizza. I spoke to him this past week, the owner, and the owner's wife of the Chimley Way.
okay.
They both had very good comments, very good things to say about not only the Ledger Police Department, but the Ledger Fire Departments, both of them. And Mrs. Rodriguez on Chidley Way said that Officer Andrade would come by and check up on them quite often. I told this to Chief Rich, and I spoke to Officer Andrade and told him thank you at the regatta, that they speak so highly of him, and I've heard so many good things about him. And Mr. Arpin also, just so he has plans to say thank you in the future. And we were talking and you could just hear and feel the gratitude, not only for the police department and the firefighters, but for the town. So, you know, it's good to hear that in their tragedy, they still see the love.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ledyard is very good that way. We tend to embrace our people and that was a great example that everybody knew how catastrophic that fire was for Fireside. And I think they're already seeing a lot of people coming to Sunnyside as a result because they want to support this local family. So yeah, that's good. And Officer Andrade he's got a heart of gold. Guy's a great guy. Lucky to have him.
I went by Sunnyside, I think Saturday or Sunday, and the line was out the door.
Wow. Good. That is a great problem to have if you're a restaurant. That's all I have for you tonight.
Any questions for the mayor?
Yes.
Councilor McGrattan?
Going back to the project at Dow. Is there some agency, people are just irate and, you know, they're imagining all these things
Right.
that are going to happen. And we're not responsible, we the town, but is there some agency that we could tell them, contact? In other words, some
Right.
governmental agency has
Yeah.
got to be responsible for this,
Right.
overseeing this. Who are
Right,
they?
well, like Connecticut Deep is one of them.
All right,
Because they do require a coastal area management permit,
Right.
which again, since they haven't applied yet, there is no permit for them to even talk about. So I think when the time is right, people could certainly contact Deep
okay,
and, well, Deep regarding the CAM permit. The other one, of course, is the Office of State Traffic Control. That given that it's on Route 12 and given that they're saying 250 trucks a shift times 2 shifts a day, 500 trucks a day. I would think that a traffic flow like that would be worthy of a discussion with the State Traffic Commission. So I think those are going to be, you know, key points to make that if this project were to move forward down there, those types of things have to be considered before it happens. Because, you know, like I said, we've got 3 schools that actually come out essentially from that same spot or go in the morning, but 2 of those schools come out precisely at the same time at what, 3:15? And then the middle school lets out at what, 2:20? And when the buses go, as you know, there's no time to waste because they have to be somewhere else afterwards. So when the buses go, they are going. And we can't have 500 trucks preventing their ability to get onto the road to deliver the children. So, yeah, I would say that's probably one of the agencies that will have some oversight on this.
Mayor, is there any information on the work that's going on in the intersection outside of Bill Library?
Oh, yes, I meant to say something about that. That was a really great surprise coming from Connecticut DOT. They were proactive. They knew that we were having the multi-use path coming in. So they said, would you like a crosswalk where your sidewalk's going to come down to that point? Because part of that project includes extending the sidewalk from kind of just down from that house down to whatever the name of the Best Way. And so they said, would you like a crosswalk there to get people from the Ledyard Center side across the street? And then another one from that corner over to the Bill Library side, which is where the trail is going to be. So that project is them putting in the posts with the crosswalk signs and the push buttons to allow people to press the button across. So that was just compliments of DOT, and we were very pleasantly surprised to see that was proactive and actually happening ahead of our project. So it's going to be in place when we're ready to go.
They do better than the other crosswalk, which button? Guardrail.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, you got to jump over
You
the
gotta jump
steel
over
ribbon to be able to get to that.
Right.
Bunch of those. Mhm. Exactly.
Thank you.
You're
Any other
welcome.
question for the mayor? Moving on, we have no old business, new business, anybody like to amend the agenda? Hearing none, item number 1, admin.
I make a motion to approve to submit the following question to the townspeople to be included on the ballot for the November 8th, 2022 election. Shall the sale of recreational marijuana be allowed in the town of Ledyard?
Second.
So 1 year ago today, Governor Lamont signed Senate Bill 1201, an act concerning responsible and equitable regulation of adult use cannabis. The law provides municipalities the opportunity to preclude or allow recreational sale of marijuana by placing a question on their ballot. The statute provided 3 options for the ballot question. The committees that this has been through, I think, pretty unanimously and quickly decided that there's one that is the most plain language question. So that's what we're opting for to put on the ballot. There is a provision in the statute for allowing townspeople to petition. We don't need to go that route because our charter allows us to just place a question on the ballot, so we don't need to do that. If we, should the townspeople decide they would like to disallow, this is the only way to do it. If we don't put the question on the ballot, it becomes permissible by right, so.
Any questions? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I make a motion to include the facts to know regarding the retail sale of adult use cannabis, Senate Bill number 1201, as presented in the draft dated June 8th, 2022, in the August 2022 Events Magazine Publication in preparation for the November 8th, 2022 ballot question.
Second.
So this is just a fact sheet to include in the Events Magazine. It includes a synopsis of the statute. It also includes arguments for and against the retail sale of adult use cannabis. Arguments for tend to be economic in nature. Arguments against tend to be social and public health in nature. So it contains two, information on the statute and then pros and cons. So this is just to put out there for the public in prep for the vote.
Any questions, comments?
I
Councilor
just want to add that the QR code is wonderful. Great idea. Thank you.
We're going to tweet that tomorrow. Just put one out there just to test it. For the MIS tomorrow, so that all 3 documents will open. Right now, just the Senate on this.
Any other questions, comments? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item, finance.
I move to reduce the appropriation in account number 210-20101-57510, police capital vehicle, and increase the appropriation in account number 101-20101-51609, police salaries and wages, captain, by $10,517 to fund the newly created captain position. In addition, transfer $10,517 from account 210-90305-59300 transferred funds to account 101-9502-49002 transfers in. The effective date of this motion will be July 1, 2022.
Second.
So last year, the town council approved the funds for a police captain position, which was discussed at great length in finance. And by the time we decided to take action and promote the then lieutenant to the captain position, salaries have changed, in part because we also approved a labor agreement, which included adjustments to the salary, to the sergeant's salary. So for those reasons, we needed to increase the salary amount for the captain as well to bring it up to date.
Any questions? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I'd also like to thank Chief Rich. He's been with us the whole evening.
One item.
Chief, thank you. The council always appreciates when department heads and departments and fire companies and chiefs and people come and represent their the time that we're spending on their requests. So anyway, I move to transfer $41,475 from custodian salaries account number 101102001-51160 to contract maintenance account 101102003-53700 for cleaning services to Town Hall Annex, and the Ledyard Police Department for fiscal year 2023.
Second.
So we lost our custodian. The job was posted. We did not have any takers, or at least qualified people for the position. The town has had to go to a contract maintenance company, and that's what this motion is for, is to supply the funds, moving them out of the custodian salaries account into this new contract maintenance company line. And I'd ask if the mayor has anything to add.
Yeah, that was really it. I mean, it had been carried under the mayor's department under the budget. But at this point with the contracted service, and we have a 3-year agreement with this company, we figure we move it out and move it into this contract maintenance.
Any questions?
Bill, is there any savings?
Mayor?
Yeah, substantial, about $18,000 a year.
Wow.
Any other questions or comments? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I move to authorize overspending the legal fees account number 101102005-53615 for town attorney expenses through June 30, 2022. Funding to be transferred to the legal fee account number 101102005-53615 at year end.
Second.
So this is for 2 cases that we had that were unanticipated. One was related to the Browns Crossing Bridge. And we also had a property owner legal dispute with drainage work. Both of those incurred funds, expenses. We have not yet seen the end of that, but it was unanticipated, thus the request for an addition to this line item.
Any questions?
Just to reiterate some comments I made at finance, I'm generally uncomfortable with open-ended overspending. So that's, it is helpful for me to be more comfortable with this, to understand what is outstanding, knowing that it's the end of the fiscal year, right? So we should have some grasp on where we're gonna stand. And I understand that, it's hard sometimes to understand when those invoices are gonna come. They may even come the next fiscal year, right? But
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so the legal matter about the drainage work on private property, it's a pending legal situation. It could be in the court system for years.
Right.
I mean, realistically, we don't know where that ends. We do feel like the Browns Crossing Bridge one is close. There was still a number of items that needed to be approved. The engineering company, the third-party engineering company that we'd hired to review the construction of the bridge. They were not satisfied with a couple items in there, and they hadn't yet been corrected. And we also had to get an easement from Harvard because they're one of the first property owners as you cross the bridge. And we needed to be able to get a plow truck not only across the bridge, but be able to turn around and then come back and probably deposit snow on their property. So we've since gotten that done. So that one I think is going to be easier, but kind of not unlike the situation we heard earlier tonight. They can go on and on. So I wish I could tell you that there was going to be closure on it.
And like was explained multiple times to me, and I certainly understand, is that, case with legal matters is such that you don't know when they're going to end. But at the same time, we should at least have a check on this, in my opinion. There's no reason, in my opinion, that we couldn't say discuss for future motions, not this one. But for future motions on this subject, maybe we start talking about increments of increases, just so there's a check on it and so people are aware, because what we're approving tonight essentially is carte blanche for overspending up to anything. So. Am I wrong in that assertion? That's
Well, I think that there was like a limited dollar amount on this one, and then if we had to overexpend again, I mean, we wouldn't in this fiscal year.
right.
But clearly, these two items, I know that the land use matter is going to court. So it's, I see, that they're preparing briefs back and forth. Who knows how long that could take and what that costs at a couple $100 an hour. So, yeah, I think that when you get to the end of the fiscal year, especially when you have a couple outstanding items that weren't really on the radar before, they will burn into those budgets far faster than we'd like.
I don't want to eat up too much time on this, but that brings up another subject that I hadn't really thought about then. I don't recall what we approved in the budget for the legal line item, but if we have, I mean, you're certainly making it sound like that with $20,000, if that was the budget we put in, because that seems to be the standard budget, legal budget we approved. Is that even going to be enough next year?
Yeah, so the town attorney's at 20,000.
Yeah. So that you're making it sound like that might not be enough for next year either. So.
Right, and at the same time, the land use situation could be resolved in a court hearing the second day of July. We don't know, and that's the hard part, and it's very difficult to be able to draw the line in the sand on these, because you're kind of showing your cards too, in terms of how far are you willing to go with something if you believe that, like in the case of the land use one, our public works director is very confident that what they did was the right thing to do. But now we're at the point where we have to have a judge agree with them.
And that strategy aspect is the one that I appreciate the most. I appreciate it.
Sure.
That's all. Thank you.
And I have to believe there's somebody on staff that is keeping an eye on the expenditures
Well,
for us.
to the point, I think it's between the town finance director, the mayor's office, as well as the finance committee. So it's getting the overview. But, I mean, I understand from Council Ryan's point is that I look at this agenda item and the motion has been made, and it's like, yep, expend it. We're going to overspend without telling you by how much.
So finance committee wouldn't have a say after that.
Well,
Not,
the practice has been just that we don't say how much we're going to spend. We don't want to put a lot of money in there in a line account, line item, because then attorneys do look at town's budget.
Right.
So we don't want to put too much in.
What's the level of pain?
That's the strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
No, what I'm
And
saying
it's-
is
no,
that
I know,
once we
the other
approve
side,
this,
yeah, once we approve.
it's not coming back. to
as
finance.
written, it won't
No,
come
it
back.
isn't. You're right. But
So,
But we also have to have faith in our paid staff,
Right.
that has been said, there is scrutiny and oversight. And when we come around to the budget year and we say, okay, we authorize overspending, and if we spent 25 times more than what was originally budgeted, there will be questions.
Right.
So we do pay attention to these things, so.
any other comments? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
One of my favorite motions, I move to appropriate $10,251 received from the sale of surplus items through Gov Deals as follows. $4,051 to account number 210400101-57315 pool vehicles, and $6,200 to account number 2104011-58240 building upgrade reserve.
Second.
So at one time, we used to have a sealed bid auction, and a handful of people would participate and get great deals from the town. Now we go to Gov Deals, thanks to the mayor's idea. And he said at our last council meeting, how many people are now monitoring our bids? I don't remember the number, but it was thousands.
Yeah,
of people
yeah,
in
we
the
have
local area.
about 1,100 bidders within 50 miles of town hall,
Excellent.
registered active bidders.
So we're getting far more money for surplus equipment. And at the same time, these are great deals. And several of us have commented that one vehicle that we sold was, I would have bought that.
Yeah.
So I think we'll.
And registered a bid.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to see this, and good job there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Psalms?
Yes,
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I move to approve the following proposed projects to be eligible for Neighborhood Assistance Act NAA tax credits. 1, Arc of Eastern Connecticut to replace windows of the group residence located at 1671 Center Groton Road, Ledyard, estimated cost $30,872. 2, Habitat for Humanity project for the full rehabilitation of a single-family split-level home at 42 Laurel Leaf Drive in Gales Ferry.
Second.
So we held a public hearing on this earlier this evening. There are 2 organizations in town. ARC has a home on Center Groton Road. They need to replace the windows. They have residents there. The windows are drafty and old, and it's a worthwhile project. Habitat often rehabilitates or builds brand new homes in Ledyard. This one is a rehab, also a good project. And these 2 projects will be paid for with funds from C corporations taken as a tax deduction, which is entirely, it's a public-private venture, if you will. So no taxpayer funds involved. And all the town needs to do, our only involvement is to hold a hearing, approve this motion, and post an ad in the newspaper. And these 2 projects or organizations can apply for the funds for these projects.
Any questions? Hearing none. Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Psalms?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0
Motion
opposed.
carries. Next item on the agenda is to discuss our summer meeting schedule. Normally for the summer, the July and August timeframe, we usually skip to just 1 meeting during the month. Typically to enjoy the holidays and stuff like that, and the summer. Normally we skip the first Monday of the month, we hold the second Monday of the month, but Wednesday, I should say. So right now our scheduled dates are 7/13 and 7/27, and 8/10 and 8/24, the normal scheduled meeting dates. Propose we skip the July 13th and August 10th meeting dates and just hold our meeting on that.
I'll second that.
Just a consensus. There's no business.
I'll miss the.
You said August 24th.
Yeah, we would, so the meeting date that we would hold would be August 24th and July 27th.
I'll likely miss that one.
I will miss the 24th also of August.
So you want to cancel the 24th?
And the 24th, we'll have the 10th.
Good for you.
No finance.
Hey.
They short agenda.
So it's up to the council. I don't.
I'm good with the 2 end of the meeting, end of the month meetings.
Since admin also meets the second Wednesday, we would probably move to stay. On the 10th. We would probably move so that we're also meeting, so we could also have a night off. I don't want to have this council meeting canceled and then have admin still meet. That defeats. the purpose. So we would move our admin meetings as well.
Okay, so if we do the 10th, Bill can make it. And I'll just zoom in on vacation.
Oh.
Well, don't do that, don't do that. Well, we're not, no, we move it to ten. We move to 10, Bill's not available, Bill's not. You're both saying you're not available for the 24th,
For the record, if I'm on vacation, I'm not.
I'll be
It's no
driving
shame.
upstate. So.
I just did on vacation and had COVID.
Well, you know, not required. We have one person on to do that, look at stuff like that.
I can't because there's no signal.
That's a good problem. That's a good problem to have, right?
Okay, so what is the consensus? Cancel the 13th of July and the 10th of August? Is that the consensus?
That's fine.
I was trying to write this down, so I know.
Good with that, everybody?
That's
Okay.
fine.
Okay,
That just sounds like you won't be here,
So,
Second
so we have the
Wednesdays.
second Wednesday. So the first Wednesday we'll cancel. You good with that?
So then we would also move the admin meetings.
So then admin would be,
Special meeting.
So the two regulars would be two specials.
so your admin meetings would be on the 27th of July. 24th of August, right?
Yes, yes.
Finance would be the third Wednesday.
Right, so.
Finance would be on the 20th of July.
Yeah.
And the 17th of August.
And Roxanne, you do a great job on the calendar, so you'll have us all updated for us. And I want to give a kudos to Roxanne. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing. The switch over to Granicus. That's a lot of work, and thank you.
She's gonna be a power user.
You will.
Without any further business on the agenda,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll adjourn with